So let's take a look at my secondary weapon here and what I need to do with it. So I've stated that we need one shader per object. We only want one shader here, but I've got these fancy crystals that I want to use that fall off map on. I don't need texture on here per se. I could just be doing it with fall off maps. But I have unwrapped the whole thing in case I want to put, probably it'd be good to have some dirt around the edge and whatever else, the scratches on it, things of that nature I should go and put in. So I could paint those in. But let's just show you a way of sort of replacing this entirely inside of one shader so that we only have one. I'm just going to grab my secondary weapon here. I'm just going to isolate it in a perspective view. And I'm just going to skip over for now into the standard so we don't see all the lighting. So you can see that this has the shader on it already. Well, I've actually cheated that in for the sake of this. I have this second shader that I've shown in other examples. So this is the fall off map shader, and it's been applied onto the crystal. So that's not what we're looking for. We're looking to be able to have just the one material over everything. So with it all picked, I'm going to go and add that material on by pressing A. And you'll see that I no longer have this on here, so we can see that it's just gone blue. I just left it blue in the texture, so it's really not what we're looking for. So how do we go about resolving this? Well, first, what we need is we need a render of the whole unwrap. So if we go to the unwrap modifier, you can just re-add it in if you have already collapsed it or whatever. Open it up, and here's the unwrap. And what we do is we go into Tools, Render UV Template. I think Visible Seams is on by default. I think that's the default. And if we render, and for whatever reason, it always comes up on my second monitor, there's what we've rendered is the actual unwrap. Now we want something super clean. Basically, we want white and black and no lines. So I'll just close that. So let's not show the outside seams. Let's not show the visible seams because we just don't need these edges at all. So if we were to render now, what we end up is this, and it's all gray, which isn't bad. I mean, we could use that, but I'll often say make the fill white so that the fill is all white. And then we're just going to go ahead and render. I'm just going to render a 1024. We could probably do it with a 512. It's just a mask. So actually, let's even try that. Why do we need a 2048 for this simple mask? It's just going to be black and white in the end. So I'm going to tell it to render. And so I have this now. So what we need to do now is either fill these are the crystal pieces, these four right here. So either we have to fill these with white and everything else black, or vice versa. Okay, so I'm just going to copy this. You could save it if you like and save it and load it. I'm going to skip over to Photoshop, but if you go copy, I can go create new from clipboard. So there's the 512. I'm just going to paste that image back in here, and this is what I get now. So let's just fill these with black and everything else with white. How's that? So I'm going to take the magic wand tool and I'm going to select these. Okay. It looks like they might be spilling into each other with such a high res map. So you know what? I'm going to go back because you can see I can't select properly. I could sort of fudge that, but this are sort of such a low res map. Let's go back and just do that again so that we've got a higher res map and it's cleaner. So we just need to step back to max and make this a 1024. Render it again. Exactly what we're after. I'm just going to hit copy again, back into Photoshop, and let's go create new from clipboard, paste. Should be able to select them individually now. Hold down Shift to select them all. You can see we're not getting right to the edge, so I'm going to go to Select, Modify, Expand, and expand by like 3 pixels. And that should be pretty good, except I'm spilling into here a little bit, and I'm spilling into there, so I'm just going to undo. And let's try and expand by 2 pixels, for instance, and see if that resolves the problem. That could be pretty good, except for right there. I just don't want to clip that, so we can just then go and deselect that and make sure that we're not painting into that area. With my colors black and white, Alt-Delete will fill the foreground color. I'm going to invert the selection with Control-Shift-I and invert it so it's the other way around, and Control-Delete will fill it with white. So now I have a mask. I can mask one out with the other. And so we just need to save this now out as a texture. We could size it down at this point if we wanted and have it sized down to the right size, but I'm going to say Save As. And then I'm going to skip over, find my secondary weapon, and I'll just save it as a JPEG, make it a high quality JPEG. And I've already done this, so there it is there. And so let's now skip back over to the material. So I don't need this anymore. I can just go and, again, probably just collapse everything into the stack or whatever if I'm down at this stage. And so now over to our material. So I've got these inputs here going into this shader. I'm going to input everything into this shader because that's what's been applied to everything now. And we're going to start with this one piece at a time. So here's our 4 inputs. I'm going to correct each one of these first. This right now is over the entire model. So we're going to use a lerp, okay? And a lerp is maps, OSL, math color, and it is called interpolate. So what it interpolate stands for is interpolate color, or in fact, it's just mixing 2 colors together with some sort of mix value. So we can pipe anything into the input value to be able to mix these 2 colors together. So what are we going to use for that? Well, it is going to be an OSL Bitmap Lookup. And we're going to grab that mask, and I'm just going to collapse it with H because I don't need that. And I'm just going to grab the color channel out of here. Now, we really could channel pack this into something else, but we don't have anything else other than normal map right now to channel pack into. And that becomes sort of a bigger step to be able to do that. So we're not going to get into that in this. So this one's now mixing it through. So the way the interpolate works is anywhere the input is black, we're going to get the min channel, minimum value. Anywhere it's 1, so anywhere it's white, we're going to get the max channel. So what is the min channel going to be? Well, it's going to be our OSL Fall Off that we're using here. And I'm going to leave it plugged in just so I can see which channels I'm using. So it's currently plugged into the base color. We're working with base color. So it's going to go into min because the black areas are where we want the crystal to show up. And then I'm going to take the output that is currently going into base color into max. So it's going to be wherever the white is. And then I'm going to plug that into here. And what we'll have then is we'll have the color of those jewels has been replaced to see them in all their glory. Make sure you go over to high quality. And now you'll see the color is now dependent on the viewing angle of those. But we want to plug it into everything else too. So we're going to need multiple of these lerp nodes. But now that we have one picked up, already set up, I can just shift drag that down. It's already being filtered out. It already has our a fall off map plugged in. We just need to take the green channel here, plug it into the max, and that's going to get us anywhere this is not, is going to be coming into this. So that can be the roughness map. Okay. And now this is kind of controlling roughness as well. Now it doesn't control roughness down here. We really didn't need it. So what if we wanted to not have this as roughness, but just say be 100% shiny? Okay, don't change. Well, all we can do now is take this, the min channel. Let's just say the min channel, the roughness should be black. We don't want it rough. We want it shiny over the whole surface. So filter it out. So this is working only where this is white. Okay, so our roughness map is only showing where this is white. Wherever this is black is coming up black. Okay, so that is filtering nicely. We need another one, and we're going to do the same thing again. We're filtering them. This time it's going to be going into metalness. Exactly the same thing. We don't want any metalness. And we want the metalness, which is coming out of here, into metalness. So it's coming out of that multiplier node. I'm going to plug that into the max, this into the metalness. And so you can start seeing it's just a matter of plugging the right ones in. Normal map's really not going to matter because if you look at the normal map closely, I haven't painted any normals on the crystal, so it really won't matter. But if I wanted to put cracks in the crystal, I just need to paint them. and they'll show up there. I really don't need to filter this because I don't need it falling off per se. I could do that though. I could mix that in some ways, but I don't know that it would be necessary. So then we have multiple other channels. We have the base color, the transparency color mask. So that needs to go in as well, but we're going to kind of invert this. This is going to be the transparency color mask. And so that's going to go into the transparency color. Okay. Map, sorry, I think I kept saying mask. But again, we don't need the actual map here because transparency isn't being generated here. Okay. And we just need to say, don't be transparent. So we're going to make the max channel wherever the mask is white. We're going to make sure that it is not transparent. Now you might say, well, they're both black. Well, this channel is not black. It has a map being placed into it. And that indeed is this fall off map is going into the min channel. So this is being overridden by this, okay? So, and then we have mission color. We can do the same thing. We can go and take that, and that's going to be going into admission color. So that's a mission color map. Now, we don't want a mission color again, so we can literally use the exact same thing. That being said, if that's the case, and this is plugged into the exact same thing, and that's plugged into the exact same thing, and they're being filtered the same way, we really don't need that one, and we can just say emission color map and just use this one again. We don't have to create another in this case. It's doing exactly the same process at this point. So then that's the emission color. And then we have these ones. This is the transparency map, not transparency color, but the transparency map. And we're going to need to blend that out. And the transparency value, again, is going to be black. We don't want it to be transparent, so transparency map. So that works. That's going to get us to where we want. And then the last one we have is this SSS color, and we can filter that exactly the same way. I'm going to pull that out, plug that in. And the SSS color map, well, we don't need SSS color, so we want the black in the second one for the rest of it. And I'm going to say SSS color map. And then the only thing I need to do is set up some changes here. We have an emission of 0.4. That worked pretty good. So I'm going to go back and I'm going to say emission 0.4. And on this one, we have transparency of, and you can see it's being controlled by it. So it doesn't matter, but we have a depth value we could play with. So we could go back over and grab the depth value and any other settings that we need and transfer it over. So this is no longer needed. It's not being used anywhere in here. We can get rid of that. And I'm going to pick the root one. I'm going to collapse it with H, and I'm going to hit C to organize all the children. And if you move the parent and hold down Control and Alt, you can move the entire tree. So that is now the material that is being applied. It now appears to have two totally different shaders on it. It does not. It's one shader that's been applied, one material over the entire thing. It just has different properties that are being masked out wherever we need them.